Let me take a minute to introduce myself. I am Julie Holbrook. I oversee graduate admissions at the John A. Paulson School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And we're here today to talk to you about our school and our programs and the application process for the PhD degree program. I'm joined by my colleague, Alexis Stokes, who will be talking to you in a little bit about the diversity, inclusion, and belonging efforts that the school has initiated in recent months. And after we go through the application process and that information, Alexis will come back and talk to you a little bit about those efforts. The chat is disabled for this event, but you do have the opportunity to answer questions or to enter questions in the Q&A feed. And we have several members of our admissions staff who will be answering those questions in real time. Many of them are likely to be answered as we move through the slide deck, but feel free to pop any question you have into the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer them. So quickly, before we get to the slide deck, I'm sitting virtually behind the Science and Engineering Complex, which is the school's new home in Alston. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. But just quickly, this is where many of you will be joining us and where we will all hopefully be working out of sooner rather than later. And it's a result of CEAS's expansion. So we're going to move on to our slide deck. So this is an information session specifically for the PhD program. If you're interested in our master's programs at CEAS, we will have separate information sessions for those, and the dates for those are posted on our website. So very basics. What can you study at the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences? So we offer 4 degrees for the PhD: applied mathematics, applied physics, computer science, and engineering sciences. And engineering sciences is a little amorphous. Many students have questions about it. Engineering sciences at CEAS includes the various subfields: bioengineering, electrical engineering, environmental science and engineering, and material science and mechanical engineering. You'll note that material science, there's a track within applied physics and also a track within material science and mechanical engineering. And so depending on your research interests and your preparation, it could be that applied physics is a better fit for you, or it could be that engineering sciences is a better fit for you. And you're welcome to reach out to us and ask us questions about that. So for students across the school, the average time to the PhD is about 5 to 6 years. Some areas are slightly longer than others. Oftentimes students who are experimentalists it might take them a little bit longer than maybe somebody who's computational, but generally speaking, we like to see students in and out of the doors between 5 and 6 years. Our PhD requires 10 courses, a qualifying exam, which happens in the 2nd year, and a thesis defense, which is your final defense. The qualifying exam is simply a chance and an opportunity for you to propose what you're planning to think about for your research. And you get lots of support both from our faculty and from the Office of Academic Programs in reaching your milestones. A teaching fellowship is Harvard's fancy word for a teaching assistantship. So all PhD students are required to be a teaching fellow once in their PhD program, although many students choose to do it more than once. We do expect students to do it in their 2nd year. And beyond the requirement, they can teach often if they are willing to and their advisor is supportive of it. It's an important part of the PhD program because we do expect for our PhD students to be able to communicate and help others and teach them. Whether you plan to go into academia when you're done with your PhD or into industry. Our PhD students are fully funded as long as they remain in good academic standing. And fully funded funding comes from a variety of sources. It comes from the school and for the 1st year. Beyond the 1st year, it often comes in the form of research assistantship. So you're in a lab doing work for a faculty member and they are paying you out of their grants and contracts. The teaching fellowship contributes to your funding, and then many students come in with external fellowships. So for example, an NSF. But as long as you're making progress and in good standing, you will be fully funded for the length of your PhD. We are very cognizant that work life and fun, our balance is important to our graduate students. So we do encourage students to get out of the lab and get into the world. We have a number of student clubs and organizations that let them do that. You'll see some of them listed here. The SEAS Graduate Council is a group of our graduate students who are very, very active in social programming and academic support. They work with the Office of Academic Programs and SEAS to really create some wonderful opportunities for our graduate students. And beyond the SEAS Graduate Council, you'll see a long list of organizations where our graduate students and our undergraduate students in some cases participate. So Alexis will talk a little bit more about some of these organizations, but just know that there is a wealth of opportunities for you to enjoy your time as a graduate student and get some fresh air. So this is a better picture of the science and engineering complex that I pointed to earlier in our presentation. So SEAS is growing and expanding. And this building is a long time coming, and we've spent many, many years getting it up and running, and we could not be more excited to be moving into it very, very soon. So right now, SEAS is located on Harvard's historic Cambridge campus. This picture is sort of an aerial shot of Harvard Square, and SEAS is sort of back toward the back end of the picture frame. This is a map. So SEAS in Cambridge, you'll see it is at the very top of the screen, and SEAS in Alston is at the bottom of the screen. And we will continue to have a presence in both Cambridge and Alston. We are not fully moving to Alston. There are too many of us, and we need space in both Cambridge and in Alston. You'll see Harvard Yard is in the middle. That's sort of the historic Harvard Yard that you think of when you think of Harvard. It's where many of the undergraduate houses are located, and it's sort of smack dab in the middle of the SEAS Cambridge campus and the SEAS Alston campus. You'll see that the new SEAS Alston campus is also located right next to the iLab, which is the innovation lab, which might be a resource for you, and Harvard Business School, which is this HBS building noted in red. So the science and engineering complex, it will have dedicated learning labs and makerspace and club space for all of those student clubs we talked a little bit about earlier. It will have flexible classrooms. It is state of the art, and it is amazing. And we can't wait for our undergraduate students and our graduate students to start taking courses in it. A number of faculty labs will be located in the science and engineering complex, and the main administration for SEAS. So the Office of Academic Programs, which are the staff that will support you through your graduate school journey, the dean's office, and then lots of other administrative offices will be located on this campus. The iLab I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's the innovation lab, and it's open to people from around the university, SEAS students included, and it's sort of a hub of entrepreneurship. So students who are interested in taking a product to market or learning how to scale up manufacturing. So there are a number of SEAS students who are interested in work at the iLab. And as a student, you just head over across the street, and we'll talk to them about how they can support you, how they can provide advice, how they might give you space to work on your projects. So as I mentioned, we'll be both in Cambridge and in Alston. And generally speaking, the areas staying in Cambridge are applied math, applied physics, and environmental science and engineering. And this is very much because of their links to other departments at Harvard within the Faculty of Arts and Sciences who will also remain in Cambridge. So applied physics has very close links to the physics department. Environmental science and engineering has very close links to the Earth and Planetary Sciences department within the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. And those folks are staying in Cambridge. And so from a research perspective and a collaboration perspective, it made the most sense for these folks to stay in Cambridge. In Alston, computer science and electrical engineering, both of those areas will be moving completely into Alston. And we have faculty in bioengineering and in material science and mechanical engineering who will be splitting their locations. So they may have labs on both campuses. They may need that much lab space. Or it could be that the material science folks are sort of with the applied physics bent will stay in Cambridge so that they can remain with their applied physics colleagues. And the material science and mechanical engineering folks that are more closely aligned with computer science and electrical engineering, for example, they will be moving to Alston so they have proximity to their colleagues in those areas. So after we move, we will be on both sides of the river. Courses will be held on both sides of the river, and faculty offices will be on both sides of the river. It's a fairly reasonable walk, especially in good weather, and there will also be shuttle service. So it might look far away, but actually it's going to be pretty reasonable for students to be able to move between campuses. So now we'll get to the nitty-gritty, the application process. So SEAS falls under the umbrella of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. The sort of acronym for the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences is GSAS, and you'll see that up in this link to the application. So this red text, gsas.harvard, that's the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. And below that, you'll see a screenshot from their webpage. This is where you will find the actual application. I will note the application is not available yet. The graduate school tells us it will be available by the end of September. But when it is available, this is the page you'll go to begin the application. You'll create an account in Slate, which is our online application platform. You can create the account, begin to work on the application, save your work, and come back to it. You don't have to sit down and do the whole thing all at once. But you do need to do the whole thing by December 15th. The application shuts down the night of December 15th, and we, out of fairness to all applicants, do not accept late applications. I can't emphasize that enough. Please start your application early and finish it early if you can, but don't plan on being able to submit it after the 15th of December. So the application includes the application form and the application fee, sort of basic things. The statement of purpose, and we'll get into all of these things in just a minute. I'll give you some advice about each one of them. The C supplemental form, 3 letters of recommendation, official TOEFL or IELTS scores if required, copies of all your undergraduate and graduate transcripts, those should be official copies, resume or CV. For the first time, and this is a change, so if you've looked at our website in the past, for the first time, we are no longer accepting GRE scores. So if you've taken it for other schools, that's fine. Please do not send us the scores. Please do not mention the scores in your application. Please do not tell us what the scores are. We are serious about reviewing applications without GRE scores this year. As for the transcripts, you'll upload unofficial transcripts in your resume with your application. Your letter writers will submit their letters separately, but through the Slate portal. And when you get into Slate, you'll register them and their email addresses. Slate will send them a message asking them to submit a letter on your behalf. So they won't be sending it to you. You won't need to upload it. They'll be able to do that themselves. For TOEFL scores, our ETS school code is 3451. There is not a department code that you need to use. So a little bit about each part of the application. The best thing you can do is show how your research interests match those of our faculty. The individual faculty pages on the SEAS website are a great place to learn about what our faculty are doing, what their areas of interest are, where they're sort of focusing. Your statement of purpose is a way to tell us that you think you're a good fit for SEAS and that SEAS is a good fit for you. Be specific. Talk about a specific research project or a specific faculty member or a lab that you're interested in. You don't want to write more than 2.5 pages for the statement of purpose. You want to be succinct, but this is your chance to make an argument about why you're a good fit for SEAS and why you think you'd be successful. The application asks you to identify 3 faculty members in whose research you're interested. Please list SEAS faculty. Please do not list faculty who are in other departments at Harvard. If you're going to be successful and happy at SEAS, you need to be interested in the research that our faculty are doing. So if you're not sure if somebody is a member of the SEAS faculty member, go to the SEAS website and do a search for them. And if they show up on our list of faculty, then you're in good shape. And if they don't show up on a list of faculty, it could be that they collaborate with the person in whose work you're interested, but you'll need to sort that out and be thoughtful about the 3 people that you list. And I say that because the 3 people that you list on your application will be the people who are most likely to read your application first. The other thing we'll ask you to do, I mentioned the SEAS supplemental form. This is a place for you to rank order 3 areas of research interest. So This is another way our faculty are able to triage applications. So within applied physics, there will be a subset of areas. Let's say it's nanotechnology or optics or various disciplines. You'll rank order 1, 2, and 3 the areas that are most interesting to you. And that is another way that our faculty are able to go through the applications and look for the applicants that are interested in what their particular research area is. And I'm going to show you a page right now that will help you figure out who those people are. This is a page on the CEAS website. You'll see ceas.harvard.edu/faculty/research areas. And all of our main areas, so applied mathematics, applied physics, bioengineering, computer science, and so on, are listed here. Within each main area, so we'll just look at applied mathematics because it's at the top, you'll see a number of these sub areas: computational neuroscience, control theory, economics and computation, and so on. If you click on the little plus next to whatever area you're most interested in, you'll get a list of faculty in CEAS who have self-selected to be included on this list. Now, these are not all applied mathematicians. Some of them are applied mathematicians, some of them are electrical engineers, some are bioengineers. The unique thing about CEAS is that we have areas and not departments. And so there's a lot of cross-pollination among students, meaning they might be seeking a degree in applied physics, but they might be working in a lab that has students in applied physics and in material science and mechanical engineering and in electrical engineering. We don't have these sort of artificial walls that many schools have in terms of departments. So it's very, very fluid. And so within applied mathematics, you might apply to a PhD in applied mathematics, but it could be that Professor Demba Ba, who is an electrical engineer, is a really good fit for you. And so Demba will have applied math students in his lab, and he'll have electrical engineering students in his lab, and maybe other areas as well. This is a fantastic place for you to go and see which of our faculty identify in which particular research areas, and also, again, to ensure that when you list the 3 members of the CEAS faculty on your application, that they appear somewhere on this list. So we'll go back to the slide deck. Your letters of recommendation. This is one of the most fraught pieces of the application for so many students, and we hope to put your mind at ease about it a little bit. 3 letters are required. Most students and applicants get 3 letters from academia. So many of you are coming from an undergraduate program. It's totally appropriate for you to get members of your undergraduate folks who've taught you at the undergraduate level to write you a letter. It's also appropriate if you've been out in industry for a year or 2 to get somebody from industry to write you a letter. My best advice is to get at least 2 letters from academics and maybe 1 from industry if that's most appropriate for you. No matter who you ask, the person should be able to speak really specifically about your preparation for research, your creativity, and your overall sort of technical skill set. So a letter should be specific about your work on a particular project or in a particular lab, or if you've been out in industry, something that you did professionally. We don't really need more than 3 letters. If you really, really can't narrow it down and you need to submit 4 letters, you are able to do that. You should not submit any more than 4. Another huge piece of advice is start thinking about who you want to write your letters now. Keep in mind that these faculty members and maybe these professionals are going to get a lot of requests for letters of recommendation. They could be getting dozens and dozens of requests for letters of recommendation. So the best thing you can do for them, ask them to write you a letter of recommendation, remind them of the work that you did with them or for them in a class or in a lab, give them some talking points just to jog their memory, and that will help them write a really strong letter for you. Do not wait until November to ask them to write letters of recommendation. A lot of them will do it throughout the course of the fall, and they should be submitted by the 15th of December. Although I will tell you that letter writers are able to submit letters after the 15th. The application shuts down for applicants. The letter writer portal stays open, but we start reviewing applications pretty much right after the submission deadline. So it's best for you if all 3 of your letters are in the system. You will be able to go into Slate and see who has submitted a letter for you and who has not. And you are able to remind them just by clicking a button to submit the letter if they haven't. So start thinking about it now and plan to ask them, certainly by October. So the TOEFL and the IELTS, these are required for any student who does not have an undergraduate degree from a school where language is the language of instruction, where English is the language of instruction, excuse me. A master's degree does not meet this requirement. This is a question we are asked often. You need to have an undergraduate, which is typically a 3 or 4 year degree from a school where English is the language of instruction. Your TOEFL or IELTS score should be valid at the time that you enter our program. So if it's going to be expired by the time you were to start the program, that isn't sufficient. We have a minimum TOEFL of 80, and the required minimum on the IELTS is 6.5. We are accepting the at-home version of the TOEFL test, given everything that's happened with the pandemic and students facing difficulties signing up for tests. If you have questions about if the test that you're taking is valid, please let us know via email and we'll get back to you. And I said this before, but I'll reemphasize, December 15th is the deadline and the application will shut down. I would encourage you to submit the application before the 15th. You can imagine the number of people submitting the application on the 15th, and that sometimes leads to technical glitches. I don't want you to worry about it. I don't want you to lose sleep about it. So if you can get the whole thing done and submitted on the 13th or the 14th or the 12th of December, all the better. So you submit it by the 15th of December, and then what happens? So we spend the month of end of December and through the month of January reviewing applications. We finalize our admissions decisions in mid-February, at which time the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences sends out the official admissions notification. They do this electronically. They'll append a decision letter to your account in Slate, and you'll get an email saying that there's been a letter added to your account, and it will prompt you to log in. Students who are admitted will have until April 15th to make a decision about where they're going to graduate school. And this is a standard date across most US graduate programs. So it's likely that all the schools you're admitted to will ask you to make a decision by the 15th of December. And then quickly, before I turn it over to Alexis, this is just a series of websites that will be helpful to you. Some of them are on the SEAS page, and some of them are on the GSAS page. We know you have lots of questions. We've gone through a lot of information. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. So admissions@seas.harvard.edu is the best email to use. There are a number of us, my colleagues in the admissions office. We are all monitoring that email the entire cycle. So that's the fastest way to hear from us. I'm going to stop my screen share. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Alexis Stokes. She is the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at SEAS. And we'll talk to you a little bit about the DIB efforts that are happening at SEAS and student life and those kinds of things.
Thank you, Julie. And good morning to everyone. So I'm going to share my screen. Awesome. So I just, as Julie said, wanted to go over our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and belonging here at SEAS. And I am intentional in saying our commitment because in our commitment, we have an expectation that every member of our community will contribute to a diverse and inclusive environment. And so every faculty member, every student, staff, researcher must actively contribute. And I'll go over some of the ways in which we are demonstrating that commitment. And I've been a part of the SEAS community for 3 years now, and we've been very intentional about how we have been implementing these efforts in those 3 years. And really before those 3 years, there were a lot of things happening prior to my role being created and coming on board. And so one of the things we've done over these 3 years is that we did create a diversity inclusion strategic plan. You can view that on our website. And you will see here where we are in the implementation of that plan. So last year was year 1 of implementation, and you'll see some of the priority areas that we looked at. And so we took a deep dive into our faculty recruitment as well as our graduate student recruitment. And we started piloting some new things, and virtual recruitment was one of them. And so we actually were working on virtual recruitment prior to the pandemic happening. And so to roll out these virtual events, such as the one you're attending now, actually flowed quite nicely because we had already started planning for those efforts, because we wanted to make recruitment events more accessible for prospective students. We also established diversity and inclusion as a fundraising priority for the school last year, and we started advertising and increasing our recruitment travel. And I'll show you in a second where we will be represented, although virtually this year, but where we will be represented in our recruitment efforts moving forward this semester. We also started focusing on making our events more accessible and inclusive. And so looking at how are we advertising for events, what type of images, also the diversity of the speakers that we're bringing to campus. Also adding the option of putting your pronouns on our staff and student faculty directory online, so that we can ensure that everyone's pronouns are being respected. And then we see here the priority areas for this year. So we do have a standing diversity, inclusion, and belonging committee. And our committee is who really guides the process of implementing the strategic plan, as well as tracking the data that will guide our steps moving forward. So this year, our committee, and really the whole school, because although the committee is guiding the implementation process, we're working with the entire school to implement it. So other people are being brought on board, even though they may not serve on the official committee. So we're looking at taking a deep dive into our advising initiatives and implementing anti-racist advising strategies. We're also looking at how we do postdoc recruitment, so that we can increase the diversity of our postdoc community, our diversity, inclusion, and belonging fellows program. So this will be a paid position for undergrad or graduate students. We want to acknowledge the free labor, the emotional labor that goes into doing diversity and inclusion work, which is often done by women and are underrepresented minorities that are a part of our student population, and they should be compensated for that work. So these are some of the recruitment events that we are engaging in this semester. And so if you plan on attending any of these conferences, which of course they will be virtual this year, but if you plan on attending any of these conferences, you can engage with members of our community at these conferences. So we often will have members of our admissions team, but also members of the faculty, graduate students, postdocs, et cetera, myself, reflected at these conferences. So we absolutely invite you to come to our virtual booth and see who is available to speak with you and engage and answer questions. We also will be working with the University of Puerto Rico, Howard University, and Gallaudet. So occasionally we will partner with specific institutions to do recruitment events. This again is just a snapshot. There's more to come with this. So I encourage you to continue to check the diversity page on CES's website, where we will advertise where we will be virtually this year. We were also currently working with University of Maryland, Baltimore County and their Meyerhoff program to have a virtual recruitment event. And I'm also working with the graduate students and the faculty on planning some area-specific recruitment events. And so again, if you check back to that website, you'll have the opportunity to register to come to the CES virtual events. But if you're at these conferences, please visit our virtual booth. And as Julie said, these are some of the resources that you have access to as members of our community. And so as being CES members, you also are members of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences Committee, and they also have an Office of Diversity and Minority Affairs. They have a Diversity Fellows program currently, so that's a paid position that you would have access to apply for. The Greener Scott Scholars Program that launched this last year actually, but they'll have their first set of scholars this year. So this is a program named after the first African-American graduates of Harvard, and so we want to honor them, but this is an opportunity for Black graduate students and Black undergraduates to network and mentor each other. And so we encourage our students to get involved in that program as well. And then the student groups, as Julie said, we are whole people, and so therefore we need to network and have social time as well. But these organizations are also there for professional networking. They host events, they have speakers to come on campus, as well as the social hours. So we encourage you to get involved with them. And then of course, the Committee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. We do have graduate students that sit on the committee Typically, we try to have about 4 so that we can get the different areas represented, as well as have some diversity of people being G1, G2, G3, et cetera, making sure that we are covering the life cycle of a graduate student and that that voice is reflected in all of the decisions that we're. And then this is my contact information, as well as my colleague Veronica that works with me. If you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to either one of us. There's also the diversity@seas.harvard.edu email account. I don't have it reflected here, but you can also email that diversity@seas with questions as well. And I'll stop sharing, and there may be questions that I can answer. You're muted.
I see one question in the chat that asks if we're attending the WE20 this year.
We are currently in conversation with Society of Women Engineers about their conference. So kind of those are the ones we have confirmed, but again, there are more to come as we are talking to representatives from the different conferences to learn what their virtual formats are going to look like this year. Because we know that there are a couple of conferences that were potentially still entertaining having some in-person opportunities, but we're not able to travel right now. So we're just working with the representatives to see what virtual opportunities we have.
And there's one other question. It's from an applicant who is a wheelchair user, and she's wondering if there is an office or group for students with disabilities. And before I turn it over to you, I will say that the university does have an accessible education office, and we are committed to making our physical space accessible to all. And that includes both our current buildings in Cambridge and our brand new building in Alston. And then Alexa, if you want to tackle the group question.
Yes, so we just had our disability inclusion affinity group to launch. So there absolutely is a group that you are able to engage with. We were excited to have them partner with us we had a welcome event called Black and Brown Community Connections last month. And so we were excited for the disability inclusion affinity group to partner with us to answer questions, to welcome students as well, and to invite them to join that particular affinity group. And also the Office of Disability Resources, Julie mentioned the Accessible Education Office, and then there also is the Office of Disability Resources that sits within Harvard Central. That is a resource, and we partner with them often. They are also helping us on that accessible events guide. And I can say one of the things that we have implemented that you're seeing as a part of this event is that with us doing these open virtual events, the closed captioning being an expectation that be a part of these events.
And then there are just about maybe 2 more questions in the chat that I'll get to, which are sort of application oriented. So the first one is asking if we can put applicants in touch with current students. And what I will say is at the end of October, and the date is listed on our website, it's October 26th, we will be doing a virtual event with a group of current students from across SEAS. So men and women in various years. So early on in their programs and later on as they think about graduation, we'll have students answering questions from applicants about their experience at SEAS, why they chose SEAS in the first place, what kinds of advice they have for applicants to PhD programs. So we would encourage you to log into that event. And if you can't log in real time, that will also be recorded and made available to you. And it's your opportunity to hear from current students about various aspects of life at SEAS. There's also—
I'll add to that, Julie, on the diversity and inclusion page, there is a video of a virtual event we held in May, where we had 4 graduate students and a faculty member, and they were discussing various aspects of applying to graduate school. So I would encourage you all to also look at that video.
Thanks, Alexis. And to piggyback on that, we have a question that just popped up. Does the Diversity, Inclusion, Belonging Office have programs specifically for international students of color?
So a couple of things there. So we do work with the International Office, also the Bach Center, which is our teaching and learning pedagogy center. So we collaborate with them as well to serve our international student population. And we really respond to the requests and the needs of our students. And so one request that has come in previous years from our international scholars has been around talking about diversity inclusion, the history of that, some of the concepts are a little newer to our international scholars. And so kind of a diversity 101, so to speak. And so we've offered that as well.
Thank you. Just scrolling through. So a student writes, if they are a bioengineering PhD student, can they take courses in other areas or disciplines? The answer to that is yes. The question actually cites English, and so that is a little, outside the scope of what our students take. If it would not count toward your PhD degree, but if you took a course in English or a foreign language or something not technical and not related to your PhD, you do have the opportunity to take those courses while a PhD student. They would not count toward your doctoral degree, and so you would need to make sure that you had the time and the bandwidth, and your advisor was supportive of you taking courses. But we have had students take a number of non-technical courses because of personal interest in those kinds of things. But that would be a decision you would make once you came to SEAS and got your coursework for your PhD under your belt. But the opportunities at Harvard are broad, and so we do want our students to take advantage of everything that the university offers, in addition to everything that engineering and applied sciences offers.
So I see a question about supporting diversity in STEAM education, specifically public school districts in the greater Boston area. And absolutely. So we have a community outreach program that is ran by Catherine Holler, where we partner with Cambridge schools as well as Boston schools and some of the surrounding areas to the Boston area. And so we have a set in the city, which is science, engineering, technology in the city, and that is for K through 12 girls. We also host the Cambridge 8th grade science festival. Of course, when we're on campus, we host that in the spring. And that's an opportunity for our graduate students to serve as judges and provide feedback to 8th grade students on their projects. We also have a science and cooking program. And so if you are following the SEAS social media, you will see as we get closer to the holiday season in December, an advertisement for our science and cooking holiday lecture, which will be virtual this year. We absolutely have a number of K-12 outreach opportunities to get involved in.
Thank you. I see a question asking if students can be in the PhD program and working in industry part-time, and the answer to that is no. We expect our PhD students to be full-time students, and the coursework and the research that it will be expected of you will really take up almost all of your time. So it is in the best interest of the students that they are focused on their PhD, and so we generally do not have students working part-time. It could be that a student might have a small commitment temporarily for somewhere like between 10 and 12 hours a week, but that would be a sort of decisions made on a case-by-case basis, and we do expect that students are really in residence and pursuing their PhD full-time. So here's another question about a student who's in a PhD program and hoping to move to a Harvard PhD program. We don't have a transfer program or process per se, so you are welcome to apply to us if you're in another PhD program because it's not quite the right fit, but you would start at Harvard as a brand new graduate student. It could be the case that you might be able to get credit for a maximum of 3 of your graduate level courses taken elsewhere, but that would be the maximum number, and so you would still be required to take 7 courses at SEAS and maybe even more than that. So be aware that you would sort of start from scratch, and the application is the same for you as it is for everybody else. But we have had students who have been in a graduate program that hasn't been the right fit move from another school to Harvard. That does happen. But I want everybody to be aware that our course requirements are not altered in any way for those students.
So I saw someone asked about where they could see the video of the event that happened in May. So I just put that into the chat. It also will be updated later on today with those conferences that I mentioned and other future virtual events.
All right, thanks, Alexis. I think maybe there's just one or two more questions. So what do you look for in applicants? That's a really difficult question to answer because we are span many disciplines and cultures and those kinds of things. But what I will say is that across the board, C's faculty are looking for students who are creative. They want students who will come into the lab and be able to think about a project or something in a brand new way. And so that is, if all C's faculty were asked about one of the most important things in an applicant, it's for the applicant and their letter writers to demonstrate their creativity and their aptitude for research and their passion for research. At a very nuts and bolts level, we need to see that you have done very well in quantitative and technical coursework. Our courses are challenging and rigorous, and there are 10 of them. And so we need to make sure that you're adequately prepared. We bring in students who we want and think will be successful in our program. So we need good, strong grades in math and natural sciences and engineering and computer science type courses. And then we need letters and, from folks who know you and can talk about how you're going to be a great graduate student in a PhD program. Research experience is not required. So every year we have some students who have had the opportunity and the benefit of having a research experience as an undergraduate or over the summer or those kinds of things. Not every student has that opportunity, and we recognize that. So you are welcome to apply if you do not have research experience, or if your research experience is fairly minimal. That's not a deal breaker in any way. So in those cases, the best thing you can do is get letters of members from faculty who you took in classes and maybe who you did projects for, and really let them talk very compellingly about why you are going to be a fantastic PhD student. I said earlier, PhDs were fully funded. Is this sufficient for living? So yes, our students are fully funded, and what that means is that their tuition and health insurance is covered as part of tuition, and then the students have a monthly stipend, which is set, the rate is set by the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, and it has been deemed sufficient for living in the Cambridge, Somerville, maybe Alston areas. That generally there's a cost of living increase every year, but you do receive a monthly stipend or research assistantship depending on where you are in your graduate career. Most graduate students, so where do they live? So graduate students can live either in graduate student residence halls. So there's the Graduate of Arts and Sciences, they have residence halls, which are not just for C students, they're for students from across the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. So there will be students from the social sciences and the humanities and other natural sciences in the residence halls. Those residence halls are located in Cambridge and are very close to our existing buildings in Cambridge. They're truly residence halls, so private rooms, but hall bathrooms, that kind of thing. The university does own apartment style buildings, which students and other Harvard affiliates can live in. Those tend to be at market rate, and essentially Harvard is your landlord, but they tend to be fairly close to campus. Married students often want to live in those buildings because the residence halls don't accommodate married students. And then a lot of students just live off campus in apartments, private apartments, in and around Cambridge and Somerville, and potentially when we move to Alston, We'll probably have time for one or two more questions. So how does the application process work for master's students hoping to transition to a PhD at C's? So we do have a number of PhD students who enter every year who have come from a master's program. You apply the same way that everybody else applies. A master's degree is not required as part of the application, but if you have it, you'll submit transcripts that reflect your master's coursework. It would be beneficial to get a letter from somebody in your master's program, and you just follow the same steps that everybody else does. And is it essential to contact the potential advisor? That is a great question. It is not required. You are welcome to do so. And I would encourage you to do that via email. I would also encourage you not to take it personally if you don't get a response right away. Some faculty takes them a very long time to get through their email, but you are welcome to contact them. If you do, I advise you to make it a very succinct email. Talk about the project that they are working on in which you are interested specifically. Attach a copy of your CV, or if you've been, included in a paper and that kind of thing. But please don't take it personally if they don't get back right away. They are receiving hundreds of emails from people around the world. So you may hear from some of them, you may not hear from others, but you're welcome to do that. And I would advise you, if you reach out to somebody, that's probably the person that you're going to list as one of the 3 faculty members on your application.
And I would add to check the faculty members' website. We do have a few faculty that have put onto their website instructions about contacting them. And so they may specify what to put in the subject line and things of that nature. So just checking that first, or they may have a different email address for that purpose. So just checking with their website first to see if they have any instructions.
Yes, that's terrific. Thank you, Alexis. And then I think this will be our final question. Are master's courses counted toward the PhD? So if you're in a master's program and you move into our PhD program, you can petition to have up to 3 graduate level courses count toward the 10 course requirement. Our Committee on Higher Degrees would review that petition once you enrolled in our program. So once you were a first-year graduate student, they might accept 1 or 2 or up to 3 of those courses, but 3 would be the maximum number that you would get. So all students in Cs, regardless of their history, will end up taking, at least 7 courses as part of their degree at Cs. And some students may have a small number of courses transfer in from other graduate coursework that they've done. So I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much for taking time on your Monday morning to join us. Again, I mentioned that on October 26th, we'll be having a panel with current graduate students. We would encourage you to come back to that. The current students are far more interesting and helpful than I can be sometimes. And please also make a note of the various things that Alexis's office will be doing over the fall. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to email us at admissions@Cs and we will get back to you. We look forward to helping you through this process. We wish you all good health and a very happy fall. Best wishes, all.
Thank you.